Yokuso Otakus, today we are going to be checking out the AMA that the developer for Eternights put out, which is really, really exciting. He did talk about this today, and there are some pretty cool questions and some great answers for this, so we're going to dive over into it and check it out. All right, so starting off, I am the developer of Eternights, a dating and action game. Ask me anything. We're going to read the little top note here because I do think it's got some good info for people. The mod team asked if I'd be interested in doing an AMA on JRPG. Being a huge JRPG fan since the PS1 era, that was an offer I couldn't avoid. I am the developer of Eternights, a dating action game about a bunch of young people trying to survive while the world is ending while also trying to find love. There's a new release date trailer and character trailer. I started developing the game as a solo developer around the middle of 2019 as a hobby while having a full-time job. I was enjoying a game called Catherine Full Body at the time, and one of my friends suggested I try a game called Persona 5, which turned out to have an 8-hour-long tutorial. Yeah, it did. But it was actually pretty inspiring because I always wanted to mash up a strong character-driven story game with heavy romance elements. After beating P5, I had to play P4G and P3FES. I always wanted to start a project that mixes apocalypse, romance, and real-time action, and the modern Persona series gave me a good kickoff point. So we hear a lot about this developer in the, I guess, JRPG communities online. He was kind of known for being in, the Persona groups and being in different groups and sharing off some of the progress of his game. I think he even started off on the visual novel subreddit on Reddit. And, everyone kind of knows he's a Redditor and, people poke fun at it and all this stuff like that. But I actually think it's a really cool thing to watch someone from their roots grow into this field. And he's going to talk a little bit about that in this AMA here, which is really, really cool. I started working on a small gameplay snippet and uploading it to different subreddits. One day, a game investor contacted me for a demo. I didn't have any demo at the time, so I had to create something like a 7-minute long demo super fast, which eventually turned into a green light for funding. It was not an easy decision for me to leave a full-time job, but I had to do it. I started working on Eternights full-time in June 2022, and after 1.5 years, it became a Sony PlayStation console exclusive title and was announced at the State of Play. This won't be possible without people who have supported me along the way. Developing Eternights has been a great journey, and I've learned a lot. So, I mean, this kind of a really cool path, like I was saying, how this guy took it. It blows my mind that he started off being someone who was just sharing into these small groups and hadn't even fully realized or developed a product, I guess, so to speak. He just had a lot of really good ideas and interesting kind of marketable ideas. And then he was approached by this person who really helped him out. It is absolutely baffling that this was at the State of Play. I did see it myself. I've been hyped so much longer before this. I'm actually in a Facebook JRPG group that he's in and got to see a lot of stuff really early on. And it's been years I've been excited for this. I think it's really cool that more people than ever are hearing about it. I'm definitely looking forward to it coming out. But anyway, let's check out some of the best questions and answers that he has here. All right, so cutting into the hard-hitting questions here. Who's your best girl in each Persona game? P3P, 4 Golden, and 5 Royal. The dev says in P5, it's Anne. In P5R, it's Anne. Is an Anne man. P4G, Risei. P3FES, Mitsuru. And he says Anne is his first Persona series date, which I guess is fair. I don't really think Anne's all that great, but I mean, it's a pick. It's a vanilla pick, but it's a pick. Risei, good choice. I mean, again, she's a little bit vanilla, but the whole pop star thing's kind of pretty cool with her. And if you guys played the demo for Eternights, I think that really comes out right at the beginning because one of the main characters that you meet is a pop star. And Mitsuru is cool. I don't know what else to say about that. She's totally fine pick. So the next question is kind of a more hard-hitting one with an answer that is expected, but someone asks here, how much time will be needed to beat Eternights? Not for a 100% run, but focusing on both main and side content. He replies with a quote that he said before, I can't share the number just yet, but I'd like to say it will have you in the world enough time so that you feel that you've made some friends and memory when your journey in Eternights is done. Honestly, so this is the thing. The title is coming out at I can't remember what it is, $30 or $40, right? It's not a full $70 title. Again, it's an indie title, and it is what it is. But I don't think this has like a huge, robust team behind it. And my personal take, without actually having like inside knowledge or anything, I don't think it's going to be extremely long. I don't think we're looking at like hundreds of hours kind of a game is what I'm at least expecting. That's where I'm tempering my personal expectations at. So I'd be interested to see what you guys think. Are you expecting like a big, full, like super long game, or like, I don't know, a game that you get multiple playthroughs out of? I mean, I think that's actually a lot of times indie games do that best, is short, succinct, solid experiences, and then kind of good replay value out of it. Maybe. There's a little argument in the discourse here that says, how many pages does your book have? I judge quality by quantity, not by quality. That's a take. I'm not really going to go one way or the other. This guy got downvoted to heck, and I did give him an upvote, but So another person wants to know if he got any influence with Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus, Falcom Isa's Persona game. He says that he didn't find out about it until after he started Eternights, and he hasn't got to beat it yet, which, I mean, I don't know. The game itself, like from what I've played and what I've seen, it definitely kind of screams Persona in my face and not so much Tokyo Xanadu. But if you guys haven't played Tokyo Xanadu, it's another good game. It just comes off as a little less budgety, I guess. It seems a little lower value, but still pretty good game. The hard-hitting question here is he asked where his name comes from. If you guys aren't seeing here, the dev goes by FKK Cloud. And it's just super random, so he was wondering what it means. And the developer said that this goes all the way back to my childhood when I was still in Korea. I was in elementary school learning English for the first time, and I started playing FF7 for the first time. His name stems from the combination of the 4 coolest words he could think of at that time, which is just fair. All right, here's another one that I think is a good one that a lot of people are interested in, and it does kind of play into the value of the comment that I made before about replayability. So he says, what are we looking at as far as replay value for Eternights? Will there be endgame content? Will there be any updates post-launch to include additional content? And then he notes that he's excited for the game. So this is the official announcement here, is that there is New Game Plus, but he says that the final act flows quite differently based on your romance choices and how you treat them. So hopefully you get to find replay value from that. And I think that actually will be pretty cool. It sounds like there is going to be a little bit of replayability, which again kind of lends to my personal thoughts that the game isn't going to be like some screaming like 100-hour, maybe not even an 80-hour endeavor. But there will be a little bit of replayability. New Game Plus, absolutely. I mean, I think everyone kind of just loves New Game Pluses, and it's always fun when developers add that in. It'll be really cool to see how that works out in this game. So following that comment, Basil here, he asks, any plans for post-release content? And he can't share that. So the developer is not making any notes on what post-release content looks like. So we don't know if there'll be DLC or what else we'll have, but yeah, it's cool that it was asked and that he gave a straight answer about it instead of kind of dancing around it. So here's another kind of cool question. I'm going to skip over the bulk of what was asked, but the question itself was, have you had any great aha moments when creating this game that you can share without spoilers? And the dev replies that when he was playing Persona 5, 4G, and 3 FES, he made a bunch of notes as he played them. But the most, I guess he's saying big thing that stood out to me was how well Katsuru Hashino uses music for each gameplay beats and story beats. Not to mention the ending credit song, which is obvious, but the pace of the music when you finally get to beat the palace in P5, the way he chooses the music for that moment was pretty inspiring. Life will change. So hopefully we'll get like some music beats and stuff that goes with it. I did enjoy the soundtrack. I didn't really think it felt more like Nocturne, like ethereal and stuff like that to me when I was playing through the demo, but we'll see how that kind of comes through in the grander picture, because we just got just like an hour snippet in the demo. All right, so another person asked here, and this is a really big valid thing. I brought this up in my other video that I made for this, but there's a gay romance in the game. And so this person says, I wanted to say thank you for the male romance options. A lot of games don't bother to include them for queer or female players, so it means a lot. My question is, how long did it take you to come up with the character designs? And the dev states here, If you're referring to character personality designs, it really took a long time because these are my first time developing a character. I am still learning about them, but this was the most fun study so far in my life. So I think that kind of lends to the idea that this game, as we expect, you would expect from a dating simulator, is going to be really centric around the characters. And I like the idea of that. And like I kind of said before, and I'm kind of leaning back into this a lot, but smaller indier dev titles, they kind of have like that personality spark. And we saw that in the demo like a ton. I mean, granted, it's etchy as heck, but it's there's a lot of personality to the characters and the dialogue design and stuff like that. It was very refreshing compared to some of the more tame and like safer choices that we get from like bigger titles and stuff, even Persona. And I talked about that in length in the other video. So this is a really good one too. Pizzazz Music asks, who or what studio animated the cutscenes? They're gorgeous and caught me off guard since I wasn't expecting such pretty animation for a first indie game. And what he's referring to is that the game itself, and we saw this in the demo, has actual like full like anime like cutscenes, which is super, super cool and works really, really well in the game. The results were pretty dang good. And so the developer here, he says, I worked with a studio in Korea for the animated cutscenes. As you just mentioned, working with different animation studios were first time. There's a lot of trial and error to get what I want, but eventually I'm very happy with the end results. And I actually think it's really, really cool. I don't know what kind of like funding or backing or whatever that investor had, but they definitely put him in a position to realize his idea really fully, which is what I think is like really exciting about this game. I really think it's really great. So somebody's asking here if Yohan is a dating option in the game, and the answer is yes, he is. I'll put a picture of Yohan up for you guys to see. Okay, and then following up with the male romance more, somebody asked here how many same-sex options will be in the game, and the dev answered that there will be one. There'll be one. So there's something, but it's not a huge, robust thing. And again, lending into I think the idea that this is, while it's a console exclusive and the state of play kind of made it a big deal, it's not like a AAA experience that we're getting here, but same-sex options, cool. All right, so this is probably one of the most interesting questions and answers that I've seen in this entire AMA. This is a really good one by Cat in the Rain. Is this the first game you've ever developed? Any others that were never published or never completed? Did you learn by yourself? What was the very first thing you created for the game? There's tons of this. And they said that they started following them on the Facebook page, which, is pretty much the same as me. So the developer replies, I've developed really small indie game or short web app experiences before, but as a serious game, yes, this is the first game, which is huge. That's huge. I am blown away. This guy is like first fully realized game, and it ended up in state of play. Like, it's almost like, I don't want to go and be so flamboyant with this, but it's almost like kind of like Notch, right? Like he was a small guy that started on like web forums and just made Minecraft. It became huge. Not comparing this to Minecraft, okay, guys? I'm not expecting that. I think this will be a good cult hit. So he said most of the core stuff like 3D modeling, rigging, animation, programming, he's taught himself. Very first things were explore with Eternights were overall mood in a scene. I think that makes a lot of sense from the demo gameplay. I made a lot of comments when I was doing my live stream of the demo, but it harkened a lot of Nocturne vibes. If you guys are familiar with SMT Nocturne, it's kind of like a dark, heavy, very present, atmospheric game. And I got a lot of that from Eternights, which I think is really, really, really cool to get that kind of heavy presence behind it. And so saying that he, really started exploring the overall mood makes a ton of sense for this one. All right. So a lot of people always ask these kind of questions that the devs can't answer, but somebody asked here, will you release the game on Xbox and Switch? As you know, there's console exclusivity with PlayStation currently, and it's also coming out for the PC. So because of that, he says that there's not much he can say about it. The next person also asked a pretty good question that some of you might be interested in. I don't play games like this, but he asks if it will support ultrawide And the dev says, yes, it will support ultrawide 100%. A lot of people are really, really, really going to like that. Ultrawide monitors have been kind of a big thing lately. And I know a lot of people are enjoying them. I just don't have them myself. I don't really have the space for it in my room. Somebody asked here too, will the physical be available worldwide? He's from Canada, so he's wondering if it'll be in Amazon Canada. And the developer says that it's available for ESRB and PEGI first, but there will be more information soon. So hopefully we'll get that. Kind of a crazy question because the game isn't even out for a couple more days, but somebody asked here, when's Eternights 2? And he actually shocking to me. The dev said that he started developing his next game last month. And people ask, is that a joke, or are we really looking forward to more of these games? And the dev replies, he can't say that it's a sequel, but he has started a second project. So apparently he really loves this stuff a lot. Yeah, I guess he's mentioned it on the website, which I didn't see before. But he says that he was the one full-time developer on the game. So the second game is going to have even more full-time developers. And I think this is really cool. We might be seeing the start of some kind of new indie startup with some really great games coming forward. And I hope for that. It's way too early to say any of that. We got to see what the full picture of Eternights looks like, but potentially very, very cool. And it's one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to cover this AMA a little bit. So another person here says, Persona and Devil May Cry are just a few inspirations you can instantly tell you and the team were influenced by when developing Eternights. Is there anything else in terms of inspiration or influences players should look out for while playing? I can already picture a few from the demo released earlier in the year. The developer replies, a lot has inspired me along the way, and the game has love letter to a few games and films that he loves in his life. Is not a game, but as a benchmark of emotional depth, he hoped for Eternights. Few films that Shinkai Makoto did influenced him directly or indirectly. Gardens of Words is a favorite film of his. So if you guys are familiar with that one, that might give you a little bit more insight to what we can expect from this. Another great question from All Correct here says, what was the writing process like for the game? What inspired you guys when writing some of the dialogue? And what are your thoughts on the positive and negative feedback regarding the writing? The developer says, everything was a lot of trial and error. At the very early stage of the game, I started making a giant Google document with images and scene descriptions, kind of like a storyboard, and that sprouted out environmental design, dialogue, scenes, opportunities, and flow of combat, game pace. Now that you mention it, I am looking at that old document before me. It has not changed a lot for at least Act 1. Wow, that's actually wild. Around earlier last year, I asked a few story consultants to get feedback and rewrite the story for later arcs. That was why one of the reasons it got delayed. Oh, okay, so that's actually really interesting insight I wasn't familiar with at all. Also, very fortunately, I was able to meet a narrative designer who really helped guide me. I'm still learning, and this has been the most entertaining study for me compared to 3D art, programming stuff that I've done in my life. Apologies, that answer got long. I'm just kind of got excited. That's actually really a lot of cool insight into this as well. Again, like I said, the dialogue that I saw, at least in the demo, was fantastic, and it was really, really well written. It was one of the things that really hit me the hardest, and I think that works really well in a game with heavy dating mechanics and maybe a story focus. We're not entirely sure if that's where this game sits at, but it did seem very story focused to me. All right, here's another good one here. This is, I think, a question a lot of people want to know. He says he got to know if I can try and romance multiple people at once and if there's potentially bad consequences if you do. The developer says he will just say that there is different consequences based on that. So really, that's a light confirmation, really, that there is going to be multiple romance options that you can do simultaneously. However, there will be consequences, and we've seen that before. I actually liked one of my favorite ones is, this is off base, but The Witcher 3 has one where if you try to romance two of the main women characters, they try to get you together for a threesome, and you get all excited like this big thing, and then they're like, surprise, we knew you were a piece of crap. And you get neither. You lose totally in the end. So maybe we'll see something like that. It wouldn't shock me at all. So a lot of these have some pretty shocking answers here. This guy asks here, did you have much of a game design background before, or this person rather, did you have much of a game design background before beginning the project, or was it as a software developer? And the developer replies, I was mostly new at most of the stuff, writing story, doing 3D character modeling, rigging, animation, further aspects of software engineering, and of course design. So it was all about learning new stuff as I progress. Eternights, wild. I have to say that the demo was put together well enough that this shocks me. Granted, again, it didn't come off like a AAA studio game from the demo, but it came off not like someone who basically had never taken on such a large project and done so much of it themselves. This person is wildly talented. That's all I can say. This is an exciting one, too. Somebody asked when the release date of the physical edition is expected, or at least the period, such as before Christmas or after or in the meantime. The developer says that they can't say the exact day, but it's coming much faster than that, which is wild because we really only have so many months really until Christmas at this point. And yeah, we could be getting the physical very soon. I would love to see a physical copy of it myself. I definitely want this one on my shelf, I think. Even though it's not out yet, just the demo itself had me enticed enough. Will there be a more full trailer that talks about the aspects of the game with a bit more detail? I feel like I'm not really getting the gist of what this is about, other than it being compared to other games. I think this person must be talking about from the AMA and not so much like from the demo, because if you play the demo, you definitely have a pretty dang strong idea about what the game is about, at least in my opinion. So if you guys haven't done that yet, check the demo out. It's totally worth it. And the developer says that the launch trailer is coming pretty soon, and it will be the longest trailer of Eternights. Freaking excited. Maybe I should do a reaction video to that. We'll see what that looks like coming up soon. Another good comment here is this person wants to know, as far as questions go, you say that Persona was a main inspiration, but Eternights has an action RPG combat system. What would you say the combat is most similar to or inspired by? Developer states here, in order to emphasize the thrills of the apocalypse, I wanted it to happen in real time because anything can happen at any time. Nothing is waiting for your turn. At the very beginning of the stage, DMC3's boss battle was the inspiration to kick off, but when the development comes into the middle, there was no big combat inspiration from a specific game. I wanted players to lean onto other characters, dateable characters, so I made certain combat situations where they really need their companion's help, and that help gets stronger if you have a strong bond with them. Also, there are situations where they are absent from combat and you will miss them. Wow, that's super, super interesting. I wasn't expecting to have moments where we're actually removed from our characters and have to play solo, at least from how that's sounding. Maybe where you have to be with like characters that are weaker during that time, but I like the idea of that. I like the idea about it a lot, and obviously Persona's done a lot for having combat enhancements based off the relationship that you have with your characters, so the inspiration comes in pretty hard with that. But this is an action RPG, and I think that he has a lot of really great ideas with that, so that'll be cool to see. Okay, so here's another interesting one. I played the demo and liked it, but the talking animations really took me out of it. Will they be like that in the final game? And I've seen a couple other people make complaints about this too. The animations didn't bother me hardly at all, but the developer does say that there were some animations polished or swapped to the final version, especially the mouth animation is not synced with the sound. Demo didn't have the feature, so hopefully it gives you better immersion. That's cool. I think it's kind of a small thing and not a super big deal, but it is great when devs kind of look at the smaller picture too and finalize, those small details to make the game better. Here's an interesting one for those of you with Steam Decks. I know a couple of you do because you've talked about it in my streams. Somebody asks, is it Stream Deck compatible? And the dev says and confirms that it was Stream Deck compatible approved from Valve this week. So that's super, super cool for people who have their Steam Decks. After getting funding, is it completely solo developer, or have you had people join the team or contracted out for certain parts of the work? How'd you go from solo dev to come to work with the publisher Kepler Interactive? My bad. He says, after getting funding, I was the only full-time developer until August of 2023, which was not long ago. As you mentioned it, there were a few part-time contractors who helped certain parts of the game. They are joining full-time starting August through December 2023 for the second game. I initially got fund from Kowloon Knights. Kowloon Knights and Kepler Interactive are partners, and they're very supportive for indie game developers. That's freaking exciting. That goes in tandem with what we were talking about earlier, and so freaking cool. This is actually really exciting to watch, like kind of an indie person like grow into something big and exciting with a lot of hype behind it. All right, so I'm going to call that here with the AMA, but I will have a link for it in the description if you want to check out the full post and the crazy amount of questions and answers. I don't want this video to be like 100 hours long. I just wanted to kind of cherry pick some of the stuff that I thought was the most interesting and lended to some more ideas about what we're going to expect from this game. As I've said before, I've been excited about it for so long. There is a lot of things that I'm very, very hopeful for. I'm also hoping because, you know, it's been on the Sony State of Play and stuff, people aren't expecting something like a huge AAA title and instead are expecting like a really good indie title with a lot of personality and a lot of life for it. At least that's what I'm expecting. Who knows really, but that's what I'm expecting from it. I think that's probably what people will be the least disappointed with when it comes out into full fruition. And the game comes out very, very, very soon, 9/12, so next Tuesday from the time that this video is posting. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this game. Are you excited for it? Have you pre-ordered it like I have? And check out this page for much, much more content. I have a lot of stuff planned around Eternights. Like I said, I've been incredibly excited about this for a while, and I am looking forward to producing a lot of stuff for it and kind of building the hype around this. So you guys want to join me, feel free to subscribe to Yokuso Otaku, and we'll also have some more anime news reviews and gaming, as well as live streams and commentary and all sorts of other great stuff. And we have a Discord you can jump into and talk to us as well. Check out all that stuff in the description. Anyway, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace!